What is going on, everybody? So here today we have my DIY Milwaukee Packout power station. This is going to be a breakdown of the parts I use and also what I had to do to get this power station working. So for starters, it is the Milwaukee Packout Box that I used, and this is the 5-compartment box. You can buy this at Home Depot. Now moving down, it's kind of hard to see, sorry, it's a cloudy day, but bear with me. This is the Drok battery capacity voltage meter. On the left, it shows you the percentage level. On the right, you can switch between two settings, which is the temperature setting. Push the button and it'll show you the voltage of the battery. On the bottom is your standard battery capacity graph. Next on down the line is our two SAE inputs. This one is for a solar input. This one is for an input that you have through a battery charger. And then continuing down the line, we have our USB chargers. This one has an on and off switch, also has a voltage meter. We have one USB-A type output and two USB-C type outputs. And on the front side, we have one cutoff switch for the solar inputs. You can see that it is on because it has a green little ring to show it's on. Now to go into the guts of this thing, we're gonna open it. Of course, our more important thing, our 30 amp hour battery from EcoWorthy. What I really like about this battery is that you can set it down any way, direction, according to the manufacturer. Now, of course, since we have a solar panel coming in, we have to have a solar charge controller. This one is the Victron Energy 12 24 volt 30 amp hour PWM charge controller. I mounted it with 3 screws, 1, 2. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a third one in there. They're all 6/32 screws, but I drilled holes through and pretty much just had to line it up. Moving down, we have a Blue Sea Systems fuse block. It's a 6-circuit with the positive and negative terminal ends. Now over here, we have our 2 relays. These are RL44 relays. I bought these at AutoZone. They're pretty much like $4, $5, fairly cheap. You don't really need them, but the way I wanted to wire this up, I didn't want just input coming in all the time, so I'm able to turn it on and off on that switch I showed. Now for getting these in, this one I used hole saws. I believe I used a 1-inch hole saw, 1 1/4 inch hole saw. These I used a multi-tool, oscillating tool with a really small blade. You can buy them at Home Depot. They're not that cheap, but they work really well. Now you can see on the edges I used an RTV marine grade silicone. All of these, hopefully it keeps out water, moisture, all that stuff. Now today it is a cloudy day, but surprisingly, if you look down there, we have a green flashing light. That just means that we do have a charge coming in, and the light varies depending on what type of charge the controller is outputting to the battery. One thing I didn't mention is that the solar charge controller does have load outputs, but I have them deactivated on the settings just because I'm not connecting anything to it. Now, this being a Milwaukee Packout box, I still wanted to be able to use the Milwaukee Packout feature. One thing I didn't mention was these screws are 8/32 screws, and on the inside there are also 8/32 nuts that fit these screws. And then let me take this off again. And on the bottom you will see that the screws I used also for the fuse block are also 8/32 screws, but I silicone these off, that way nothing gets in from the bottom. Now setting this back down. Today I'm using my Harbor Freight Thunderbolt solar panels. It's a 100-watt solar panel. Now that pretty much covers all the items I used for this build. Of course, most of these items I will have in the descriptions where you can find them. But like I said, some of these, you can buy this at Home Depot. And then the relays you can buy at AutoZone. If you want to do it that way, that's up to you. Now, like I said, for the fuse block and the charge controller, apart from taking the battery in and out, I had to mark the holes with a Sharpie so I knew where I had to drill. Now, you can get away with getting rid of this fuse block. You don't necessarily need it. It just lets me land my wires more neatly. And I know it's not that neat, but it's better than a bigger rat's nest in here. Now, if you want to save on some space, you don't need to use a 6-circuit fuse block. As you can see, I'm only using 2 circuits. So if anything, you could get away with just using a 2-circuit fuse block, or maybe even a 4-circuit fuse block. Now, another recommendation I would have for you is that instead of these type of chargers, I would use the cigarette type lighter charger. That way you can use whatever kind of adapter you want to use. But yeah, overall I'm fairly happy with my setup. It helps me with whatever I need to do as far as charging my devices. Well, that sums it up for today. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or maybe even ideas. Just drop them down in the comment box below. And thank y'all for watching.